On the western coast of India, where the Arabian Sea meets the Saurashtra shoreline, stands a temple whose story has shaped centuries, civilizations, and the soul of a nation. This is the Somnath Temple, a shrine revered in scripture, ravaged by invaders, rebuilt in glory, and standing today as a testament to faith, resilience, and cultural identity. Part 1. The Sacred Origins. Long before invaders and empires, before the rise of regional kingdoms, the land of Prabhupada was already sacred. Ancient texts, including epic literature, describe this spot as a revered pilgrimage site, tied to legends of Lord Shiva, the moon god, and the cosmic dance of creation. Long before invaders and empires, before the rise of regional kingdoms, the land of Prabhupada was already sacred. Ancient texts, including epic literature, describe this spot as a revered pilgrimage site, tied to legends of Lord Shiva, the moon god, and the cosmic dance of creation. Part 2. The Temple Through the Ages. The earliest historical structures of a temple at Somnath likely predate formal records. Archaeological surveys suggest religious activity here as far back as 1500 BCE, long before visible temple ruins existed. Somnath rose to prominence under various dynasties who poured devotion and resources into its upkeep. By the medieval period, it had grown into one of India's richest and most culturally significant temples. Part 3. The First Great Onslaught. Mahmud of Ghazni. In January 1026, the course of Somnath's history changed forever. Mahmud of Ghazni, the Turkic ruler famed throughout Asia, marched into Gujarat with an army seeking both wealth and religious dominance. Accounts of this raid, recorded in both Muslim and Hindu sources, paint a devastating picture. Somnath was looted, its treasures seized, and its shrine leveled. Though some debates about the exact details remain among historians, the raid entered Indian memory as a defining moment in medieval history. But the destruction in 1026 was not the end. Over subsequent centuries, Somnath experienced multiple invasions and destructions, each one a chapter in its remarkable saga. From Mahmud Ghazni's assault to attacks attributed to Alauddin Khalji in 1299, later to sacking during the 14th and 15th centuries, and even challenges during the Mughal era under Aurangzeb, the temple stood repeatedly battered. Historical context. 1299, Alauddin Khilji's forces sacked the temple. 1395, Zafar Khan and disruptions in Gujarat. Mughal era, Aurangzeb's policies impact the site. Each time, devoted rulers and communities rebuilt the temple, restoring faith brick by brick, icon by icon. Part 5. Somnath in the Modern Era, Rebirth After Independence. By the time India secured independence in 1947, Somnath had become more than a temple, it had become a symbol. Under the leadership of Sardar Patel, India embarked on the grandest reconstruction of Somnath in modern history. President Rajendra Prasad performed the consecration in 1951, marking a pivotal moment of cultural revival. The rebuilt temple, completed in the traditional Maru Gurjara architectural style, stands where history and devotion converge, carved in stone, lit by sun and sea. Part 6. Architecture and Spiritual Importance. Today's Somnath Temple is a masterpiece of architecture. Its towering spires, intricate carvings, and sacred sanctum designed to reflect cosmic harmony. At the heart of the shrine is the Jyotirlinga, the lingam of light, the first among 12 such holy Shiva sites across India. Pilgrims believe that praying here absolves sins and bestows spiritual blessings. Every year, millions of devotees from across India and abroad journey here. Festivals like Maha Shivratri and ceremonial artis become rhythms of devotion echoing through centuries. In 2026, A special observance called Somnath Swabhiman Parv marks two remarkable milestones: 1,000 years since the first recorded attack on the temple, and 75 years since its modern reconstruction. National celebrations and pilgrim gatherings underline Somnath's enduring place in the spiritual and cultural imagination of India. But beyond events and anniversaries, Somnath stands today as more than stone. It's a symbol of hope, a reminder that temples are not just buildings, they are mirrors of a civilization's heart. Chapter 7, 2026. As Somnath stands at the confluence of history, faith, and nationhood, 2026 marks a watershed moment, not just for devotees, but for an entire civilization. This year, India honors 1,000 years since the first recorded attack on the Somnath Temple, and 75 years since its modern reconsecration after independence. From January 8 to January 11, 2026, Somnath became the heart of a national remembrance, the Somnath Swabhiman Parv, a 4-day celebration of India's spiritual resilience, cultural pride, and collective identity. Under the vision of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, this commemoration was not only about history, it was about legacy, unity, and renewal. PM Modi's historic visit, timeline and program. On January 10 and 11, 2026, Prime Minister Modi traveled to Somnath, a pilgrimage and a statement, to participate in the Swabhiman Parv's core rituals and ceremonies. On the evening of January 10, he took part in the divine chanting of the Omkar mantra, joining thousands in a tradition that symbolized peace, continuity, and spiritual awakening. The next day, he led the Shaurya Yatra, a ceremonial procession honoring the countless defenders and custodians of Somnath's legacy, with a symbolic display of 108 horses, a number representing courage and sacrifice. A message of civilizational resilience. In his public address and messages to the nation, the Prime Minister emphasized that the temple's turbulent past, scarred by repeated invasions, had not weakened India's spiritual fabric. Instead, it strengthened the civilizational unity and cultural consciousness of the people. PM Modi shared personal images from previous visits and urged citizens to share their own moments using the hashtag Somnath Swabhiman Parv, creating a digital tapestry of devotion and shared heritage. The symbolic power of darshan and prayer. On the morning of January 11, the Prime Minister performed darshan and puja at the Somnath Temple, engaging in sacred rites that tied the past to the present. For millions of Indians, this was not merely a political visit, it was a spiritual affirmation. These moments reminded the nation that places like Somnath are living institutions, repositories of belief that bind communities across generations, beyond boundaries of caste, creed, and region. In his speeches commemorating the occasion, PM Modi also honored the architects of Somnath's modern revival, leaders like Sardar Patel, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and K.M. Munshi, whose efforts restored the temple to its sacred prominence in the 20th century. With 2026 marking the 75th anniversary of this historic reconstruction, the Prime Minister positioned Somnath not just as an ancient temple, but as a continuously evolving symbol of national pride. Modi's role in these celebrations wasn't ceremonial alone, it carried a deeper message, that the story of Somnath is the story of India's enduring spirit. Through large-scale displays like the drone show and cultural performances featuring thousands of artists and sages chanting for 72 continuous hours, the celebrations transformed Somnath into a living stage of cultural heritage. Today, Somnath stands not just as a place of worship, but as a symbol of unity in diversity, a site that draws millions annually, strengthens India's cultural tourism, and fosters intergenerational connection. Prime Minister Modi's 2026 visit and leadership in the Swabhiman Parv reaffirmed one enduring truth, that a nation's sacred spaces are mirrors of its collective soul, resilient, timeless, and ever alive. The future of the Somnath Temple stands not merely as a continuation of its past, but as an expansion of its meaning, radiating far beyond stone, ritual, or geography, shaping the spiritual, cultural, and psychological landscape of generations of devotees yet to come. As India moves deeper into the 21st century, an era defined by rapid technological change, urban alienation, and an increasing search for identity, the Somnath Temple is poised to become a powerful anchor of continuity, offering disciples a living connection to civilizational memory while evolving to meet contemporary spiritual needs. The temple's future lies in its unique ability to embody permanence in a transient world. Unlike monuments that freeze history, Somnath breathes through repeated renewal, teaching disciples that faith is not fragile but regenerative. For future pilgrims, Somnath will increasingly function not only as a site of worship, but as a place of inner reckoning, a reminder that resilience is not the absence of destruction, but the refusal to surrender meaning to it. As improved infrastructure, digital access, and heritage preservation initiatives make the temple more accessible to global devotees, Somnath's influence will extend beyond physical pilgrimage into the realm of shared consciousness, where virtual darshan, online discourses, and digitized archives allow disciples across continents to participate in its spiritual rhythm without severing their local lives. Yet this accessibility will not dilute its sanctity. Instead, it will reinforce a key lesson Somnath has always taught, that sacredness is not diminished by repetition, but deepened by remembrance. For disciples, especially younger generations navigating fragmented identities, the temple's future impact will lie in its ability to narrate a story where belief survives adversity without turning into bitterness, where historical trauma is acknowledged but not weaponized, and where devotion becomes an act of quiet strength rather than confrontation. Somnath's cyclical history of destruction and reconstruction will increasingly be interpreted not as a tale of victimhood, but as a philosophical framework for living, one that teaches disciples how to endure personal loss, societal upheaval, and moral confusion without abandoning hope or dignity. As environmental consciousness grows, the temple's coastal setting and ancient alignment with natural elements will also invite a renewed understanding of spirituality that includes ecological responsibility, encouraging disciples to see preservation of nature as an extension of worship rather than a separate obligation. The future Somnath will thus shape disciples who view Dharma not as rigid dogma, but as a living ethic, flexible, compassionate, and rooted in accountability to both history and humanity. At a national level, Somnath will continue to influence how disciples perceive India itself, not merely as a political entity, but as a civilizational continuum capable of self-correction and renewal. Its presence will quietly counter narratives of cultural amnesia by demonstrating that remembrance need not be aggressive to be powerful. As annual commemorations, scholarly research, and intergenerational storytelling deepen, disciples will increasingly engage with Somnath not only emotionally but intellectually, understanding its layered past with nuance rather than simplification, and thereby developing a more mature relationship with history, one that resists both denial and obsession. In the spiritual lives of individuals, Somnath's future impact will manifest as a place where grief is processed, vows are made, and silence is embraced in an increasingly noisy world. For many, standing before the Jyotirlinga will become less about asking for outcomes and more about learning acceptance, patience, and humility. As society grapples with loneliness, anxiety, and moral fatigue, Somnath's enduring presence will offer disciples a rare reassurance. that meaning can outlast chaos, that faith can exist without certainty, and that rebuilding oneself is a sacred act. The temple's future will also influence collective rituals, with festivals and pilgrimages becoming spaces of shared healing rather than spectacle, reinforcing social bonds weakened by modern isolation. Importantly, Somnath's impact on disciples will not be uniform. It will resonate differently with each generation, adapting its symbolism to contemporary struggles while retaining its core essence. For some, it will represent divine protection. For others, historical justice. For others still, a philosophical refuge where impermanence is confronted without despair. In this way, Somnath's future is not a fixed destination but a dynamic relationship between place and people, shrine and seeker. Its stones will continue to witness changing languages, technologies, and worldviews, yet the quiet act of bowing one's head before the linga will remain timeless, bridging centuries through a single gesture of surrender. Ultimately, the Somnath Temple's future impact on disciples will lie in its silent instruction, that civilizations, like individuals, are not defined by what they lose, but by what they choose to rebuild again and again, with faith as both foundation and compass.
Subscribe to this channel to always stay updated.